What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today we're going to be doing an RFL update where we discuss basically the happenings around the London Bulldogs, who I am the coach of here in the Relocation Football League, and a couple of the things that are going on with the Relocation Football League for you guys to know going forward if you're a fan of the Relocation Football League. If you haven't checked them out, make sure you go check out their YouTube channel, their social media pages. Make sure you check out the London Bulldogs games. We also have social media pages for them as well on Instagram and Twitter and things like that, so go check those things out. But with that being said, I want to actually just go ahead and jump into my update here for the Bulldogs and for the RFL. A couple of things to note regarding the RFL before I even get to the Bulldogs is that they've made the decision that they are going to be streaming all of the games now on the next-gen console. So on PS5, they are going to have every single game from this point forward being played on the PS5. And if you don't really know how that impacts things, the gameplay on the PS5 for Madden especially is far and away better than it was on Madden 21 on PS4. There are many improvements to the game, including improved quarterback play. They play smarter. Same thing with defensive backs playing smarter, wide receivers playing smarter. Various different aspects of the game just being improved. And then they have the next-gen stats on top of that. The presentation and things like that are improved. So you guys should get, if you want to watch simulation football at all, if you want to watch the RFL at all, and you do watch the RFL at all, or you're interested in getting into it, you're going to get a much better viewer experience moving forward with it being on the PS5. So I wanted to shout that out first, and shout out to the guys that are running the league for doing that, because that's a big step forward. So I wanted to update you guys on that. With that being said, I think that it is worthwhile to go ahead and just jump into the lineup for the London Bulldogs and talk about some of the things that are going on here with the team. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is what type of offense we're running, what type of defense we're running this season, and then in addition to that, I want to shout out the fact that we are going to be having a game here on Thursday. So if you guys are a fan of my YouTube channel, or you're a fan of the RFL, or both, or either, whatever, go check out the London Bulldogs game that is going up against the London Black Knights tomorrow, Thursday. Should be an interesting game between two London teams battling it out. We're division rivals, so it should be interesting. So make sure you guys go check that one out. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the offense and defense and talk a little bit about what's going on with the offense and the defense of this team and how we're running this team. So from an offensive perspective, the team, I think that it's pretty straightforward. We're trying to run a bit of a balanced offense this year. We have a very solid offensive line. We have very solid players, I would say, at most of the positions on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of young talent in guys like Reggie Streeter that are going to be playing a lot. And then at the halfback position, Matt Wheaton and Vic Cage both playing quite a bit of snaps, trying to split reps and do various different things. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit as we dive deeper into it. And then we have our veteran talent on the offense as well. At quarterback, Timmy Merritt, who's 28 years old, and then his two stud wide receivers on the outside in Stanley Whitehead and Saul Leckie, who have both been around for a long time, both veteran guys, both have very good hands, very good route running ability. So we have a good mixture of talent on this offense, whether it be in the ground game or in the passing game. And so we don't want to specifically lean on one side or the other. Now, at certain times in the season, depending on matchups and things like that, we might elect to go with more of a run-heavy offense or more of a pass-heavy offense, depending on what's going on with the league and what's going on with our matchups and things like that. But know that we are not an offense that is going to be specifically pinned to one type of attack. We're not going to always be run-heavy. We're not always going to be pass-heavy. This isn't an offense that we have to do one specific thing to get it right. This isn't an offense that can only win one way. It's an offense that can hurt you in multiple different ways, and if they're operating at their best, they can kill you in the run game and in the pass game. So very important to note that in terms of the offense. Then on the defensive side of the ball, you guys will see probably a couple things that are interesting here. If you are not familiar with the London Bulldogs team at all, last year we came in around week 3 and took over the team, and the team was already running a 4-3 defense. Well, we didn't really have the personnel to operate a 4-3 defense the way that we needed to, so we transitioned to a 3-4 defense, and it worked really well for us. But with acquiring the first overall pick in the draft last season, we acquired defensive end Drew Brewer, who is the absolute cornerstone for this defensive rebuild. And so, you know, acquiring a high-end defensive end like that, a pass rusher, you want him in those one-on-one matchups on the outside. So you want him playing edge rusher. And so we will be transitioning to a 4-3 defense, but one thing that I want people to know if they watch London Bulldogs games is you will see a mixture of 3-4 and 4-3 defense. Now, we are running Washington's defense, and the interesting thing about Washington's defense is that it is a base 3-4 playbook, so it has a 3-4 formation in it. However, it is primarily a 4-3 playbook, so it has one 3-4 formation in it, but it also has like 4 different 4-3 formations and things like that. So it is more 4-3 heavy, but it still has that focus on the 3-4, which is more advantageous to the personnel that we have right now until we can get to a point where we build this team up to be a proper 4-3 defense. So you will see various different looks from the defensive side of the ball, and you will probably also see this defense blitzing the quarterback quite a lot. Now, outside of just discussing the general points on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball here for the London Bulldogs, there are a couple of acquisitions and changes and things that I want to bring to your attention. So first and foremost, in free agency, we were able to acquire what I consider to be a huge pickup for this offense in left guard Damian Hickman, who is a 22-year-old rookie, 74 overall, that has superstar development. This is a massive pickup for us because we've been looking for plug-and-play young offensive linemen, guys that can build up to be our future on the offensive line in addition to the guys that we already have, and Hickman does just that. We do have Bronson Gray still, but he's a little bit older. He's 25 years old. He does have stars, so we're hoping for some progression out of him, but first and foremost, picking up Damian Hickman, who is a superstar rookie, is a fantastic addition on this offensive line. So that is one addition to the team that I really wanted to highlight for you guys. And then a couple of other additions to the team. Actually, the only other one that I really want to call your attention to is the addition of D-tackle DeMarco Groce, however you pronounce it. Fantastic addition to our run stuffing ability on the defensive line. It's going to be interesting trying to get him mixed into the action because we have so many good D-tackles at this point. We were able to bring back Harvey Hoover. We have Tyler Keltner, who is also a young defensive tackle that's decent at run stuffing. So we have a lot of really good run-stuffing defensive linemen here, but this is a guy that could stick around for a long time for us, being that he's only 26 years old with star and has really good block-shedding ability, really good strength. You know, Hoover is getting up there in age, so if he were to leave in free agency, which is very likely, that would put Groce into the starting lineup almost immediately. The other thing that I want to call your attention to here that has changed, and you guys, if you follow the Bulldogs on social media, will know that Willis Savage here has been bursting onto the scene for the Bulldogs within the early parts of the season, and especially in our Week 1 game against the Red Dragons. Though we did come away with a loss, Willis Savage did enough to get a breakout challenge, and he's up to star development now. So where we were formerly trying to find a defensive end to play opposite of Drew Brewer, somebody that could rush the passer, that could even stop the run, that could be effective in playing opposite of a guy like Drew Brewer and take some of the pressure off of Drew Brewer. We don't have to find that anymore because I think that we have a good position battle going on here with Willis Savage, especially bursting onto the scene at only 24 years old and star. He has some room to grow, but we also still have Riley Draft here, who had 7 sacks for us in about a half a season last year. has a lot of potential to still do well and contribute to this team. So, we're not looking to add to that part of the ball anymore. We're looking to just let this play out and see how things go from that aspect. Now, back to the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk a little bit about this offensive line. I already mentioned here with the pickup of Hickman. We have other relatively young offensive linemen. Jake Moffitt is only 26 years old, so he'll be around for years to come. Lee Corona is also young at 23 years old, probably our best offensive lineman overall. But, in terms of age and overall combination, he is an absolute monster. And then we also have Jason McBride at right tackle, who is 24 years old. So a young offensive line there with the addition of Hickman. And then the lone veteran on the offensive line, I would call him a veteran, is 29-year-old Richard Porter, who's a really good power run blocker. So that's how the offensive line stacks up, but not much change there other than what I would consider to be huge addition of Damian Hickman at left guard. Now, what I will say is that Hickman has not had a position established for him yet. I really like Corona at right guard. I really like McBride and Moffitt at the tackle positions. But Hickman could potentially slot into the center position if Porter were to walk away or get traded or anything. Let's say we decided to go with Hickman and Gray with these two interior offensive line positions. We could potentially move Hickman to that center spot because Hickman is 6'3", 326, very strong offensive lineman with 88 strength. So there's the potential there that he could be our future at center with Porter getting up there in age. So that's the last note in terms of the offensive line. In terms of tight ends, I think a lot of people that have been watching the Bulldogs games, especially week 1, have probably been surprised that Reggie Streeter has been as impactful as he has been. A leading receiver on this team, Reggie Streeter has burst onto the scene, and that shouldn't really be a surprise because we did take him with a first-round pick this year. It's just that he's taking a lot of reps away from the veteran Ben Hartman, who is a very good tight end in himself and has been getting quite a few reps and quite a few catches and doing quite a bit of work. These two just have very different skill sets. Hartman is more of a sure-handed possession type of tight end, also a very good blocker, whereas Reggie Streeter is much more of a downfield threat. And so they sub in different formations and do various different things to help out the offense. And so you will see a good mix of Reggie Streeter and Ben Hartman throughout the season, as well as the young 22-year-old Thomas McDonald getting rotated in because he has a very unique skill set with very good catching and 90 speed to add on top of that. So we have 3 really effective tight ends here, and you will see all of them throughout the season. Very important to note. One other thing that I think is worth noting, outside of the veterans Stanley Whitehead and Saul Leckie, is we should highlight Anthony Connell because we've been very high on Anthony Connell coming into this season. We didn't feel like we needed to add a whole lot at the wide receiver position because we already have the veterans in Whitehead and Leckie. And Anthony Connell, from what we had seen in simulations and testing and training and camp, we had seen that Anthony Connell has the potential to be a star receiver in this league, and he has shown that so far. He was the number 1 receiver against the Red Dragons with 100 yards, and we're hoping that he can continue to kind of double down on that performance. And the reason that he's going to be able to do that, we think, is because of Whitehead and Leckie being ahead of them, drawing the good coverage. And so that changes what Connell can do. That kind of frees him up to have space to run around and not necessarily draw the best defender to what he's trying to do. And so for a player like this that is 6'4", only 22 years old, and 93 speed, he has all the physical tools there. It's just a matter of him continuing to put it to use and trying to basically benefit our offense through his physical tools and developing himself as a better wide receiver overall. So interesting note there. Timmy Merritt looked a little bit shaky in the week 1 game against the Red Dragons. There were times where he was hitting a bunch of passes in a row, and then towards the end of the game he ended up throwing some interceptions because of inaccurate passes. We are working strongly with Timmy Merritt to get his accuracy under control. We do believe believe that there will be times this season where we have to lean on him, and he'll probably have to throw 300 yards a game or more. And we want him to be able to do that. We want him to be that quarterback. It's just a matter of balancing that out and trying to find the right scheme around him to get guys open where, you know, he's not under pressure and things like that and throwing bad passes. So Timmy Merritt, we have a lot of faith in him as a high overall quarterback, as a veteran quarterback, being 28 years old, but it is worth noting that he has his ups and downs. So, you know, don't be surprised if you see Timmy Merritt have a 3-interception game, but also don't be surprised if you see Timmy Merritt out there throwing 4 touchdowns and 350 yards. So, you know, it could go either way for Timmy Merritt. We have been working with him a lot, but something that is absolutely worth noting from the offensive side of the ball. One thing that I specifically want to note as coach of this team that a lot of people probably don't care about is our fullback, Ashley Denard. Ashley Denard is a fantastic player, and he actually kind of adds a bit of a dynamic to this offense because he's a very athletic fullback. He's got decent speed. You know, he's almost like a extra tight end on the field, which can be really helpful to you. Not only is he a pretty good fullback, a pretty good lead blocker and things like that, but, you know, having him on the field at times gives you an extra receiving threat, and I would not be surprised if you guys see him get the ball a few times this year and making a couple of plays. Now, on to the last thing for the offensive side of the ball. I think a lot of people are up in the air on what we should do with the halfback situation, but I think I'm going to be very clear here about what's going on with the halfback situation for the London Bulldogs here. Matt Wheaton is much more of a power back type of player. That's no surprise to anybody. He's a little bit on the slower side, 88 speed, 90 acceleration, and we have a lot of faith in Matt Wheaton and what Matt Wheaton can do. One of the things that I want to add there, though, is that he, like I said, he is a little bit on the slower side. He's working on those things. He's a little bit inagile, and so he's not the best receiving back. And so the reason that we brought in Vic Cage this season is we felt, you know, in his previous attempts in the league, he hasn't gotten the burn that I think that he maybe deserves, because he has a lot of really good attributes to him, and we'll show you guys here in a second. But we felt we could give him a starting role as the third down back, as the receiving type of back, to do those types of things, because he can be really effective in those roles and do some of the things that Matt Wheaton can't, you know, and vice versa. Vic Cage isn't going to be the best runner between the tackles and things like that, because you're not going to see him, you know, breaking many tackles or running somebody over or giving a stiff arm and getting that extra yard like Matt Wheaton can. Now, Vic Cage can do some of that, but we have a very good balance here going between Matt Wheaton and Vic Cage. So expect to see a lot of both of them throughout the season, and whenever we're grinding it out on the ground, you'll see a lot of Matt Wheaton, and whenever we're dropping back to pass, we're going out of the shotgun and things like that, you're going to see a lot of Vic Cage, and you're going to see a lot of Vic Cage catching balls and making moves and doing things like that. Now, the other thing that Vic Cage adds is he's a fantastic kick returner and punt returner, so we will also be utilizing him in that fashion. Now, one thing that I think a lot of people who watch the preseason might think about this team is that they want to see Christian Nash get some burn. They want to see him get some reps, and that is totally understandable, but being a rookie, he's not going to be inserted into the lineup immediately. But what I will say from the Christian Nash perspective is he is the backup at both positions. So the primary third down back is power back is Matt Wheaton, and if he goes out of the game, Christian Nash comes in those situations. The primary third down back is Vic Cage, and if he goes out of the game, Christian Nash is going to sub in for him. So Christian Nash you could see on the field a few times this season, but like I said, Matt Wheaton and Vic Cage have very unique skill sets, and I wanted to show you guys Vic Cage's real quick. 98 speed, 99 agility, very, very effective player at being elusive, essentially. So that's what I wanted to show you there. Now let's go ahead and transition to the defensive side of the ball. There's not a lot to talk about here on the defensive line. We've already kind of covered what we wanted to cover with Willis Savage getting that upgrade opposite of Drew Brewer, so we're hoping that Willis Savage can continue to boost his own performance, and maybe he could be a sack leader this season. I mean, maybe that's a stretch to think about, but if Willis Savage could continue to perform the way he is, he could be a superstar by the end of the season, and that could be a fantastic combination across the defensive line between Savage, Brodine, and Brewer, who can all effectively rush the passer. That would be absolutely fantastic. And then the additions of Harvey Hoover, Groce, Keltner. Those guys have been somewhat effective at rushing the passer, and so we'll see what happens there, but that's how the defensive line is looking. Now, in terms of the linebackers, you guys will see something odd here with Ronnie Santiago playing both the second middle linebacker spot and the right outside linebacker spot. This is purely a product of the Washington football team defense that we are running. With the 4-3 and 3-4 combination. That is kind of important to know because, in a 4-3 situation, the three linebackers you'll see out there are Santiago, Masters, and Shivers. In a 3-4, you will see Santiago, Masters, Shivers, and then Horton will sub in at the other outside linebacker spot. So those will be the four that you see. But we are really trying to get Santiago and Shivers on the field because Santiago and Shivers are very athletic. 89 speed for Ronnie Santiago. And then for Patrick Shivers, he's an absolute monster with 92 speed and 92 acceleration. So we went with speed at the linebacker position because we haven't had the best overall players at the linebacker spot. We don't have fantastic players, and so we are looking to make up for some of those deficits by having athleticism to make up for some of those things, being able to prevent that extra yardage because these guys can catch up to guys and prevent them from getting long touchdowns. Now, that's not to say we're not going to give up long touchdowns, but this helps us in the margins to do some of those things better. The other things to talk about is the secondary, which is very much still up in the air. You guys will have seen last season, if you watched our games at all, Ike Page played fantastic for us. He burst onto the screen, and he will be another player that you guys will see all over the place this season, making a lot of plays. He stands out with his red gear. 94 speed, 90 acceleration, pretty good hit power at 84, decent man and zone coverage, but a little bit low in the play recognition and awareness categories. And then, not a bad coverage guy at 74 zone coverage and 72 man coverage, but, you're not going to see him out there locking anybody up, but you will see him running around and making plays. So a long ways to go for him in terms of development at 21 years old, but we like him quite a bit. And then we brought in Caleb Norris to play opposite of him this year to give him a tryout. 95 speed, 86 acceleration, but the thing that we like most about him is that he has, I don't think it's actually, yeah, there it is, down at the bottom of the screen, 87 catching. So another emphasis on the defensive side of the ball for us this year was bringing guys in that can catch the ball. When the ball is thrown their way, we need to come down with those turnovers and take advantage of those things, because in the past, last year, one of our biggest issues was, we would be in the right position and we would make the play, but we wouldn't come away with that turnover that other teams are coming away with. While another team is coming away with a turnover, we're coming away with an incompletion, and that gives other teams extra chances, and we don't want to be that team that's giving extra chances. We want to take that ball away, and we want to give our offense a chance. And so bringing in a guy like Caleb Norris that can catch, that is athletic, that should help us out as well. We drafted Shaquille Tiller, who has already been fantastic for us on the season, already got an interception. He can catch as well. He's got very good coverage skills, and he is currently bumped up to the number one corner on our team because he is absolutely phenomenal and playing phenomenal. So no surprises there. But one thing that came kind of from preseason is that Isaac Lockhart had a very high standout preseason performance, and so Isaac Lockhart is currently playing on the outside with Shaquille Tiller. Not a fantastic coverage player right out the gate with 75 man and 69 zone. Not huge coverage ability or anything like that, but very athletic, good hands, a player that we expect to develop into a really nice player, especially being that he is also only 23 years old alongside of Shaquille Tiller. And then this actually allows us to do something that we like quite a bit here with the team, and that is playing Brandon Bowen at the slot cornerback position. So at 28 years old, star development, not the most athletic guy, 89 speed, not the best coverage in the world, although decent, 79 man, 85 zone, really good play recognition and stuff like that. Brandon Bowen figures out to be more of a slot cornerback already, and he's maybe even a safety type of player, so you might at some point during the season see him playing some free safety and stuff like that. But Brandon Bowen, I think, with the addition of Shaquille Tiller and Isaac Lockhart, bumps into that slot cornerback spot, and that allows us to do some things that we weren't able to do before. And so I like the way things are looking right now for the offense and the defense here. Obviously, we have a ways to go in terms of competing with some of the big dogs in the league, because yes, we've gotten this team up to about an 84 overall. Our offense is pretty solid at an 85. Our defense is an 83. We have to develop some of the talent that we have on the team, but we are still going to be looking to add to this team. We're still looking to add high impact players that can make plays, cause turnovers, cause fumbles, get interceptions and things like that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So yes, against the Red Dragons, you did see our defense perform really well, but don't be surprised if our defense has down games and they have up games and various different things, because this is clearly not a fully fleshed out unit yet. On the offensive side of the ball, I feel like we're a bit more of a fleshed out unit. Our offensive line is very good across the board, very good receivers, solid quarterback. We just need some development out of maybe our tight end and our halfback and things like that. From the defense, it's more of a project. So, you will see this team play pretty well on both sides of the ball at times this season, but I just want to let you guys know that, we're not the best team in the league yet. We're not even one of the great teams in the league yet. We haven't even made the playoffs. Our goal this season, make it back to the playoffs, continue developing, and add to the team in the offseason, and hopefully we'll be ready to go for the future. If we make it to the playoffs this season, I think that this team has the potential to make a run, because at that point, you'll see a lot of these young players really coming into their own and really developing. Like, by the time we get to the end of the season, you should see Drew Brewer, Shaquille Tiller, Willis Savage, Shane Masters. They should be really impactful players, and it'll be really nice to see that. But like I said, it's a project. We're building this team. We're building a chemistry between these players, and so that's kind of what I wanted to update you guys with in terms of the season so far. We'll go with more of a stats view later on in the season or something like that, and review the team from a stats perspective, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well at, and so we'll view those things later on. But like I said, the entire league is going to be streamed from the PS5 now instead of the PS4, so you're going to see so much better gameplay. You're going to see better presentation and things like that. So go check those games out. Go check out the next London Bulldogs game. This game here, London Bulldogs at London Black Knights, is going to be a good one. At least I think it's going to be a good one, because these two teams are both teams that are in that building process and stuff like that. So should be a good one, and I believe this game is coming up tomorrow. So make sure you tune into the RFL. If you guys haven't already checked it out, go check it out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys have a good night.